And we don't have to have a certification anyway as a nonprofit, but our board has authorized us to be able to sell 25% of what we grow. So we've had our own forays into the for-profit marketing side. That's why I was listening to every word she said. We also have a long-term contract with the Florence Sunrise Apartments to provide social services and teach about 30 classes a year there. And the first stop, or that's your second stop on the tour, I believe, is the garden that we have there. We have a 2,000 square foot vegetable garden. The people in Denver that own those apartments had to get tax credits from the state of Arizona and the feds to make it work financially, and they get points for everything they do for the community. So I came up with the idea of this big garden. These people are so poor that there is only 40% of them that have cars, so there's no assigned parking. So when you go over there, you're going to be able to park in any slot that you see that's open. It's not a problem. They're not assigned. But they will never afford to buy a house and to dig in the dirt. So when we put something there that they could grow in, it was just palatable. They did. Some of them cried and said, we just never thought we'd be able to park. Well, here's my favorite teacher in 2 slides. I think he's really a livestock guy at heart. He was a cow whisperer in the dairy tour. We usually take a big farm tour afterwards, but I tried several places and they were so afraid of COVID and having 40 people show up that they just declined. It'll improve later, I am sure. And then you talk about the goats and the goat cheese. We have Toggenburg goats here in town with 70 head, and that was one of our farm tours too. So, of course, the first thing Dr. Tronstedt did was pick up the babies. He just, he likes livestock. This is what drives us in our foundation to keep doing this. We serve the poor, and one of the ways to get out of poverty is to learn this industry that was huge. Pinell County was the breadbasket of the whole state, and we used to feed everybody, and then the Chinese started buying all of our hay and cotton and filling their empty containers to take back to China, so people abandoned, right here in town, a lot of people abandoned food production, which we were really sad about. But it is big business in America. So even though it's scary and I get up and have heartbreak time after time when some crops fail or something goes wrong, do it. Just keep going. We had originally about 26 acres around the county. 20 of them were on the grounds of Florence Copper Company. And when COVID hit this year, they said we only have a 2-year permit from EPA right now. And if any of your people brought COVID into here, we would lose 25% of our production, which is worth millions and millions. So we had to abandon that for now. It's not forever. We are looking for another place. We do have a 1-acre garden in Randolph just south of Coolidge, which is an abandoned county park. And that has been our most productive. We did have the soil tested before we started, and it came back from the IAS lab in Phoenix saying, you'll never grow anything on this piece of land. It's full of copper and crap. You don't want to grow here. It's the best vegetable growing plot ever had. The 4F garden is the first stop on your tour. This is a half-acre that we own that was given to us by Mr. Medina, just a wonderful gentleman. And it's called 4F. There's so many acronyms and so many locations. We all live in our cars that I gave you our cheat sheet so that you'll know what we're talking about and what the address is, and also where to park. This is an old Rose easement that is 56 feet wide, 350 feet long. We have 11 5-row gardens in there, even on that spot. It's a 4/10 of an acre, but there's nowhere to pull in. So you'll just have to park in the farmer's field right across the street and walk in. We have taught how to grow vegetable gardens in the Arizona desert there, and I believe we're going to, toward the end of the class cycle, we might be out there demonstrating a lot of this to you as well. Plus, you're going to see in action how the drip systems work. We're going to end up the tour in my backyard, and Ruben and I are going to hustle over there and get the campfire lit. You can linger as long as you want. He's got our BCS tractor there, and he'll show it to you. And you can also do the examination of how the tubing in the water system snaps together in the garden. Well, that's somebody here in the room. Henry, look familiar to you. He's out there volunteering at that garden. And we had lots and lots of produce. We have always been very ethnic sensitive to the food in people's cultures, because over at the low-income apartments, we have Asian people, we have Italians, we have Mexicans, and they all have the food from their own culture. So these ladies were taking out mustard and collard greens, and they were thrilled to go home with those that day. This is one of the 2 hoop houses that U of A has given to us. They finished their research work in them, and I begged for them. And we have reconstructed both of them twice now because we've had microbursts rip them apart. And, you know, more heartache. You go out and your tables are all knocked over from the wind. And you're shaking your head. You open the door and see some bad stuff. We did try cut flowers at one point, and I'm still interested in that because I think there would be a lot of cash. There's not a nursery here now. So there's no place to get an anniversary gift or birthday gift. So I wouldn't underestimate that as a market. And then one of the ladies that graduated from our class grew only edible flowers. And she's done extremely well. She gets $8 a pound for edible flowers. Worth looking into. This is about 2 classes ago before you guys, and they were just nuts that day in the garden. They all had one massive turnip apiece, and I just had to take this picture. To this day, I call them all the turnip gang. Any idea what crop this is? Shout it out. Anybody know? Give me a guess.
Spinach.
Okay, that's a good wild guess. This is weeds. This is nothing but Melba cheeseweed. We were aghast. We have had so many assaults on our growing this year. It's just been painful. And we had to plow that 1-acre garden that I showed you in Randolph under twice because nothing but the cheeseweed would come up. Stop laughing, Charles. It's just horrible. So I am showing you some pictures of when we were prolific and produced tons of beautiful food. This was just last year. This year, because it stayed hot an extra month, it was 101 during the whole month of October. We planted, you know, in a very aggressive timeline, all of our winter cole family, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and they croaked themselves immediately. They did not last through October. So then we got ready to replant, and it was still hot. Then I looked at the weather, and it's not predicted to have 1 freeze this year. And that stuff, the spinach, everything likes really cold. They like a couple freezes. So I am doing an experiment in the land that we just finished planting a second time in Randolph with a mixture of half summer foods and half winter foods. And the summer foods are winning. So I'm just kind of wondering if we're just going to have summer foods year-round here, if something permanent has changed. But one swallow does not a summer make. You have to see year by year what's happening. There is Mr. Rubin with our BCS walking tractor, which the handles will go sideways. It was actually made by Ferrari in Italy. And it was for the Italian Alps where they could work their market gardens on very craggy places and walk beside the tractor with the handles spin. But it has something like 26 attachments. We got 5 of them. It's very powerful. It's a Honda motor, right?
Yes.
Honda.
Yes.
And it's 300 pounds alone. The attachments are about 200. And he is the only person in the whole foundation that can load this on the trailer and can get it down. So I think you have job security. But this is designed for, it's really good for organic because the trend in organic food now is low till or no till. But after listening to you, I'm going to switch to greenhouses. But after 10 years, this is our 10th year now of doing this, we really have learned a lot about growing in the ground. I also think that this raised bed thing is a marketing phrase that Tractor Supply invented because you can't till the raised bed, you can't run a drip system through it, you can't get high production. But there are places for that, but that would not be producing much food in the raised bed world. Oh, Terry's just giving me that look. She's got raised beds and she's producing that crazy. You're in the ground now? Oh, my kind of girl. This was some of the harvest that we got in the summer, and one of our farm to fork clients was Robeson Ranch in Eloy. And we had a deal with the chef, and I trained him. I just grabbed him by the throat and said, "This is what it's going to be." And he said, "Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." And then one day I heard him on the cell phone when I was delivering, my local's here, we got a local." He was bragging to the chefs up in Phoenix that he had found a local to supply him. There's hardly any growers out there, so they're thrilled to get fresh produce. The chef pretty much has to be culinary trained because he will cook with whatever I bring through the door. It makes vegetable of the day, but mostly he feels like he's back in school, getting the challenge of what am I going to make with a rutabaga today? And he digs it, you know, he just loved it. In the winter, he got my cat. This is what I've heard several people say that have sold marketing ways, and maybe you can tell me if you think this is right or not. Your Cadillac vegetables go to your restaurants. The Class B vegetables go in your CSA boxes, and the C stuff goes to the farmer's market. You see any, some truth in that?
More or less.
More or less, okay, well, we can talk later, but I really liked your speech. So whatever we took, it was in the wintertime when he had all the winter visitors back at Robson Ranch, he would take 7 flats for $200 a week, and I was making $800 a month, which was big to us in a nonprofit small foundation. Or, you know, if you get several restaurant accounts at $800 or $900 a month, that's big to anybody. And he wouldn't refuse it unless it was just really, really bad. He had the right to look at it. He would run out to the truck to see what I had brought him that week, because we had the most exotic, weird stuff. We had purple cauliflower. I just love all the exotic seeds from the different companies. And if you have something like that he could decorate and play with, even when we brought these zinnias, I just always put flowers on the end caps of my rows to attract the pollinators and to make the garden beautiful. I just cut them all and took him. He decorated his buffet table with zinnias that day. And I never thought of them as anything special, but I'm telling you, there's a market for flowers. We have been very grateful that Edible Arrangements gives us their vans. Ruben's also a mechanic. When they have a broken transmission or 180,000 miles on them, or we always go, oh, how bad's this one? We now, I mean, we can't even believe this happened last week. We got 4 vans in one day from, they're the little transit vans, from another Edible Arrangements store. The lady owns 4 of them up by surprise in Goodyear. She knew the first guy that owned 10 of them that's given us 8 vans over 7 years already. And I love it. I don't ever want another nonprofit to knock on their door, because they know that when they call and say they have a van, I'm there the next day. I make it so easy to donate to us. I just take whatever I find. We haul them home if we have to. And we do what we can. But we are very grateful to have refrigerated storage to take our food around Pinell County. Oh, that's the picture of all the vans that we just had donated. It just looks nuts back there. And if you'll look at the decoration on the back of each door, it's 2 lovers cooing over some fruit together. So I drive around town with these lovers in the back of my car all the time. It's something. Actually, we're going to sell off about 5 of them. So later, after we determine what needs fixed, what needs done, you guys can, let me know if you're interested in the refrigerators. Some of them, the refrigeration needs fixed. What do we do with that food? We were delivering to 7 food banks. We've upped that to 10 now. Food banks come and go. They're just like you're saying, there's a farmer's market competition. There certainly is in the food bank world too. Everybody thinks they can open a food bank, and it's very competitive. It's different senior centers, and then of course the veterans. We do high productive gardens. We know our intent is to produce as much food as we possibly can, so it's Netafim drip. High wall gardens that have a whole sunken garden down the center and 2 rows of drip in it, so that we don't go ... planting like your grandma did. We do massive planting so that we make the most use of the land and the water with all of those systems. We are having to evolve because the BCS makes a different pattern now. We still like the high walls to keep the water in the sunken garden and not in the aisle. And we have now just had to put 3 drips instead of 2 because the BCS has a 30-inch bed. Oh, this is a slide from actually another slideshow, but we had a contract with United Way to teach people how to make backyard gardens, and they spread about 5 more backyard gardens would pop up around every garden that we built. It was so fun. But the kids, oh my gosh, if they planted it, that's my rutabaga. You can't eat it. And they would eat something they'd never eaten before in their life. This is the Sunrise Garden. I'm sorry about the quality of the slide, but we were building the garden at that time, assembling the drip and designing it from scratch. Also Sunrise, we had a lot of the tenants that came out and worked it. This is when it was seeing happier days. Remember I've said we've had a lot of loss because not only did it stay 101 the whole month of October, the whiteflies are still here. And they have sucked the life out of a lot of this done in my own backyard. You'll see it when you see my backyard. But it has been very prolific in the production. We had to lock it because people started using it for a dog run, and the dog will rip through there and tear up the whole garden in a minute. So, but we do leave the food for the tenants themselves there. And of course, they don't know what to do with the food, so I've had to teach cooking, everything you just said in your class. And I know you don't want to stop and do that while you're selling or to hand out recipes, but our mission is nonprofit and it's a little different, it's educational. So we've had multiple cooking classes, and in this one, they didn't know what to do with all the winter foods, which were parsnips and turnips, and I said, oh, this stuff's delicious. They said, no, it's not. I said, give me an hour. I did roasted root vegetables, where I chopped them all up in cubes, added a fennel bulb chopped up, simply put a little olive oil on it and some thyme, cooked it all. You gotta have about 30% sweet, like sweet potatoes or carrots or butternut squash mixed in with the savory foods. Bake it on a cookie sheet for 1 hour and you'll think you've gone to heaven. It's just letting the food speak for itself. When you roast it like that, let the flavor of the food come out. Don't cover it up with too much stuff. This is that my backyard? Yeah, that's in fluffier days. I showed that to you because my backyard has constantly been a testing garden for it. We've let seeds go to seed to save seed. We're big on seed operations, and people that know that about me, like Emily Penrod that just brought me some pepper seeds that she saved for me, it goes back into our seed stock, and then we harvest more. Once again, I just wanted you to see our glory days before you see how pitiful the gardens look. The one at 4F was all planted by seed. It came up briefly, and it all died in 1 day. The only thing we have kind of come to the conclusion, well, there's 2 conclusions. The thing that causes you're going to have heartbreak when you grow. You're going to have pests and assaults and all kinds of things. But talk to each other, meet each other in class, call each other, say, what are you doing about this? We gave up our chicken flock, and we might have used the chicken poop from the coop a little too soon, and it might have been hot, which might have caused the little seedlings to not make it. But we think what happened is that our friends who are adjacent to us have cotton right there, and the crop duster nicked us while he was defoliating their cotton. So more heartbreak. But when you're out doing this, expect surprises. There is another photo I tried to find. Yeah, we pulled this out, and it was just a scream. I just had to say this. I saw another picture on the line of a carrot that a diamond ring, it had grown with a diamond ring on the inside, and the lady had lost that ring like 20 years ago, and then she pulled the carrot out, and there was her diamond ring stuck inside the carrot around it. So I really thank you for the opportunity, and I just wanted to tell you the sequence of events and where to park. Number 1, you're going to go to 4F, which is on Butte, so you just go back down Main Street, turn left on Butte, and park across the street in the farmer's lot. Come see what we're doing. We've got our 2 hoop houses up there too. I will say that 5 people in my group finished glazing the 2nd hoop house, which we had to pull off of Florence Copper's land, and they're all aching and in pain, and their muscles hurt, but they glazed it beautifully. We have not finished building out the inside, but I want you to look. And the other one's full of bedding plants. We've just been using the other one to make our own bedding plants. I can't pay $350 for a pony pack, a 6-pack. So growing our own makes us much more self-sufficient in the whole arena. And then you'll go after that, you'll drive backwards to the Florence Sunrise Apartments, which are 1 block off of Highway 79 to Tucson. And then everything's only 10 blocks apart in our town. We have 3 stoplights. It's just my style. So anyway, you'll come back to my backyard, which is a block from, and enter through the carport, because I didn't clean my house for all you to see. So, and we'll just linger there for a while if you like and answer your questions. And do you want to collect the sheets they filled in?
I guess you just put them in the back, maybe?
Okay. Did you like the class today, everybody? Yes. Good. If you have any suggestions, let us know. Thank you for coming.